Welcome to the Repair Panda. Today we are working on a Motorola XPR 6550. It is a digital mobile radio, or DMR for short. It's in a nice housing already. The accessory port area is good. All the buttons look good. We'll check those in a little bit. Our main concerns are the volume pot and our channel selector right here. So these two top switches. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to add a battery onto it and turn the radio on. It takes a few seconds to boot up. As you can see, now we're going to test the volume pot here. As you can see, the volume comes up and down, so that's good. And when we push it back and forth, it doesn't jump around, which is awesome. So now we're going to check the channel selector. And to check the channel selector, we're going to go into what's known as service mode on the radio. To do that, we are going to turn the radio off, let it power down fully, and when we turn it on, once it boots up, we're going to push the middle button right here. We're going to push it 5 times, and you have, I think it's 5 to 10 seconds after it boots up to push it to enable the service mode. So let's go ahead, we'll turn it on. And it's on. Now we hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're in service mode. It shows us our firmware, our model number, and a bunch of other stuff. So to fast forward, we'll hit the right button, and now we are in what's known as service mode. As you can see, it says CSQ 12.5 kilohertz. So that's open squelch on channel 1 of service mode with a 12.5 kilohertz channel spacing. So narrow band. So to check the channel selector, we switch it. My first round, 15 and 16 on the channel selector are unprogrammed, so that error noise is just fine. So my first time around, I just simply go around. My second time, once I come back to 1, my second time, I'll push back and forth, going from channel 1 to 8, and you'd be able to see or hear if the channel was changing by pushing up down. You'll be able to hear it. So as you see, I'm spinning it and you can hear the beep. That beep will happen if you're pushing up and down on the channel selector as well. And you'll also notice the number here. I can't get it better. You'll see the number here jump around as well. The channel selector on this checks out, so that is good. So we turn it off, and then we're going to turn it back on and boot into normal mode. Now this radio has already been recovered and has 2 channels, 1 digital and 1 analog. Channel 2 is the analog channel, which we'll check here in a moment. All right. And then we have our buttons over here. It seems like we have our audio keypad turns off. There we go. So all I did was go through the menu to be able to turn on the button sounds. That way I know that every single one of these buttons is working. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get our antenna adapter. And we'll move over to our service monitor here. Today we're using a Freedom R8000C as our service monitor. And let's go ahead and set up our frequency. And this should be at the default 403.025. We want to make it copy to our generate set. And the main areas of focus are for the video are going to be the freak error and the deviation as well. Input level. I don't have a stand for the camera, so bear with me while I try to focus. Alright, so we're going to key up our, as you can see, I have it connected here. I'll go ahead and key it up. As you can see, I am able to talk. Our freak error is in range. We want lower than 300 hertz. That's positive or negative. Our input power is 4.5 watts, which is good. And our deviation, when we make a loud whistle noise, is less than 2.5 kilohertz, which is also good. Now what we're going to do, to go over to our generator, we're going to put output level of negative 117 dBm into the radio. And it powered down. Well, that's not good. See if we can't power this back up. Oh, it does now. Terry, see? So let's crack this open and see what's going on inside. Our radio has an issue with receiving, so we're going to go ahead and open it and take a look on the inside of the radio to see what's going on. So the XPR 6000 series has 2 screws on the bottom that hold the frame into the housing. And we're going to take that out. And now I go ahead and switch my bit over to a flathead. You can kind of see the gap already between the plastic and the frame. So we want to put our flathead in there and just push it out. All right, now with that open, we should be able to just pull off the knobs. You might need a pair of pliers to help, but they will come off. And now we just use the volume pot right here and push it through. As you can see, there is a flex in here. So we just take our fingernail and pop it off. And now the housing is off. With the housing off, I'll still use my flathead and come in between the metal and the plastic housing of the LCD. And you should be able to just pop it right out. And it's also connected by a flex down here. And it just comes right out with a simple light tug. Now with our display gun, you can see 2 more screws, plus the 4 original screws you could see when we first took off the housing. So we're going to go ahead and take those off now. So now that we have everything disconnected, I usually put my thumb and index fingers up on the 2 corners up here, and then I'll just lift off. And voila. Now it's off of the frame. And now we can focus on the board itself. This little orange gasket, we can remove that as well. And there we go. So now we want to take a little look, just a quick overview. See if there's anything wrong. Doesn't look like it. Okay. So we're going to take off the volume pot and the antenna port. We're using a desoldering iron, the Pace ST115. Let's go ahead and get this done. All right. So for the antenna port here, this one right here. So you got 2 small ones right here. The second one in from the left is always the problem child for the antenna ports. Don't know why. It just is. So you might have to try a few times to get that one desoldered. Now we take our pliers and just wiggle them off very gently. There we go. Come on. There's the volume pot. And now we do the same thing to the antenna port. We just wiggle it back and forth until it comes out. And there's the kind of clean up the ports a little bit. Make sure they're nice and clean for the new ones. Get all the old flux out of it. Alright, so we'll take our new antenna port, line up all the solder joints, push it on. Same thing with our volume pot. We just line up the holes and push it on. And now we take a little bit of solder. And I like to start with the top left one when the volume pot is facing to your right hand. And then if you're left-handed and you're soldering with your left hand, you can start on the either one on the top over there. I just personally like to start on that top, and then I just go through and solder each connection. And the very top two on the very right hand, right here, or I should say the two to the very right, they're anchor points. So they are what help keep the volume pot stay in line. Now we have 2 points right here to solder, and then we have 4 anchor points on the corners of this pin in the middle. And don't worry about my sloppiness. We're going to come back and fix it up with the desoldering iron. And there we go. So now what we do is I come back with the desoldering iron and just let it sit there. I don't push the button. I just let it sit there and melt through the through hole to make sure it goes all the way through. For those 5, or those 7, I should say. Now that I'm done, whatever excess I'll suck up and do the 7 for the antenna port as well. So now we go ahead and align everything on the frame. We had a screw that came off up here. There you go. And basically we just do everything in reverse from what we just did. So we'll screw down the display module clip, and then we will screw in the bottom 4 screws here. So this bottom one, this bottom hole right here, gets the screw that has no washer on it. Because if it did, the washer would be sticking off of the board and interfere with the housing. Alright, so next we put in the screen. There we go. And we slide it in to the housing. And don't forget to reconnect the flex that goes to the option board on the 6550. And if you happen to have a little the frame gasket to get stuck, I just take a flathead, very gently push it off to the side, or twist the housing, and then it normally goes right into place. Now with holding the frame down as good as you can, there it is. We add in the last 2 screws at the bottom here. Add our knobs back. We'll add the antenna port again. Antenna adapter, I should say, not antenna port, antenna adapter. Slide that back up. And wait for it to boot up. Now we're going to generate. You get the channel selective on the channel selector. So we've fixed it from shutting off automatically, but now it sounds like the speaker in the housing is not working correctly. That comes down here. And go to the housing. Make sure we have that flex in place. Push it down. And make sure we have screws nice and secure. Nice and tight. They don't have to be cranked really hard. Just hand tight. Works just fine. Right. Let's try this one last time. Put the antenna adapter on. Add the battery. Connect the RF cable. And turn it on. Alright, now with it turned on, and we make sure it's on channel 2. Go ahead and generate. Yeah. So I think to say this one is no good. With a new volume pot, antenna port, and trying the new housing with a different speaker. Here's the old housing just so you guys can see. This is the speaker down here. This is the housing that was originally on there. There are still issues with this on the receive side. I'm going to call this a no fix radio because I cannot guarantee that it will not fail in the field while it's receiving in case somebody is having emergencies. If I don't feel comfortable with it on my bench test, I'm not going to give it back to and or sell it. If it's a customer repair, I'll give it back to the customer as a no fix. If I was selling this, I would just mark it as a no fix and come back to it at a later date. As this is a customer's radio, I'm going to write it up as a no fix and let them know exactly what I attempted to do with this radio. And that's it. Checking out a XPR 6550 from Motorola. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And until next time, enjoy the day.